I really need a nap after this. I am super tired, but I'm gonna get through this.
Bonk.
Hi everyone, Rose here. Welcome to the August wrap-up. We all know how this goes. So, I read 5 books in August, which is a massive accomplishment because I haven't read a single gosh darn thing physical book-wise since the end of March. So, self-high five. Okay, the 5 books. 4 of them, right here, I already own, and the 5th one from the library. Now, okay, 3 of those books, BT dubs, Star Wars, Ahsoka by E.K. Johnston. Is that her name? Yes, it is. This is going great. I already did a very long reading vlog on that, so if you want to hear anything about that book, that will be linked down below. And I also did an entirely separate book on, I got it, don't you worry, right there, on these 2 Winnie-the-Pooh books by A.A. Milne. I did, a separate review on these books. So if you want to hear my thoughts on this adorableness, that link is also down below. And okay, so in this video, I am only going to be talking about 2 of the books, just how it is. One is a nonfiction book, and the other is a children's book. We're going to talk about the nonfiction book first, because I want to end this video on a happy note. Let's just get into this. This nonfiction book, it's called 2002 Romantic Ideas by, what are your names, Cyndi, Haynes, and Dahl Edwards. This book has been on my bookshelf for many years. Finally read it, and okay. This book was published in 2006, and in many regards that shows. The authors really wanted to hit this arbitrary number of 2002, and it shows. The tips, they're just very repetitive. Lots and lots of tips to deal with flowers and writing love notes and letters, kissing more often, generally being lazy together, and so on and so forth. On top of that, there were just numerous tips that I personally would not label as romantic. As bonding tips, yes, but not romantic. For example, one that very clearly sticks out in my mind. Buying matching outfits for your wife and your daughter is not romantic, but okay, fam. Y'all, there we go. That's a slightly better visual. I did some annotating. I took some notes. And in doing so, I feel a little bit delirious because I'm so tired. Bear with me. There were 5 big themes in this book that I noticed, which I labeled as follows, which I am honestly just going to read right off of my laptop here. Actual decent advice. Authors showing their age. I was very confused of how old these authors are, and when I tell you some of the examples, you will understand why. 3rd, what the f*** moments. 4th, who has money for this? And the 5th thing, sexist moments. Good times all around. But to keep this manageable, I just chose 3 examples for each thing. Otherwise, we would be here for 3 days. Ain't nobody got time for that. So, the actual decent advice: be each other's best friends. Create boundaries, not walls, within the relationship to allow for personal freedom. Yes, I agree. Okay. Now, authors showing their age. Give a wonderful, and I cannot pronounce this word. I've never heard of it before. I had to Google it. It's going to be on screen. Give her a wonderful collectible, such as hat pin, brooch, button, or lady pin. Apparently this collectible, it's a porcelain collectible. How about a fine touch of sophistication for him? Give him an elegant smoking jacket along with some fine cigars. Now this particular tip was a bit contradictory because at some point in the book, one of the tips was talking about how smoking is not good and not romantic, so conflicting messages here, and yeah, the what the f*** moments, and there were just so many. Entertain the kids when she is sick. Let her get some well-deserved rest and relaxation. Bitch, that's just called parenting. A father does not babysit his children. That's just parenting. Okay, moving on. Whisper. 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 Everything sounds sexier whisper in a lover's ear. That's a direct quote. Who has money for this? Purchase a second home for your romantic getaway. You can afford more than one home? Can't relate. Give a fabulous gift of a bright future by giving your mate a college education. Like, how much debt are you willing to put yourself into to be able to do this? I appreciate the sentiment, but that's a lot of money. That's all I can say. Now, with the whole who has money for that, I will say there were tips in the book that were actually like financially feasible and responsible, but at the same time, in I would say like equal measure, there were just a lot of tips that it felt as if probably only people in the upper middle class and rich people could afford some of these things, but okay. On to the fifth and final theme here, the sexist moments. Okay. 1. Tell her that it is your turn to do the dishes, clean the house, change the baby, drive the kids to school. This will be music to her ears. Why is it music to her ears? Are you not like already doing it? All of this stuff in equal measure? Is she the one that's always doing it in the first place? For men only. Always go to the theater to see the latest romantic movies. Suffer through a chick flick to be a great romantic, because men can't possibly enjoy chick flicks. No, we gotta keep up that toxic masculinity. Swell. Last one. Meet her for lunch at the mall when she is out on a major day of shopping. This book, let me get this back up here. It really made it sound like for men, they just love their sports, and for women, they just love to go shopping and on shopping sprees. It's gonna be a yikes, bro. Also, some getting some final thoughts here. There we go. I got my words. This book, it was very clearly written by a straight Christian couple. No, that is not a criticism. It's just a fact. There were a lot of tips in here that dealt specifically with going to church and Bibles and such. Now, the language used throughout the book is also very indicative of it being a straight couple. And I think that the authors intended for this book to be pretty much geared towards people who are like them. And so I would definitely say that the tone of this book is not particularly, if at all, inclusive. So, okay. Yeah, this. 1.5 stars for me. And the absolute last thing that I have to say about this is I never want to have to see, read, or hear the word mate ever again in my life. Thank you. Let's move on to some good stuff. The only other book that I can talk about, and also the last book that I happen to read in the month of August, is Matilda by Roald Dahl. This is a middle grade book, and this is actually a reread for me because I read this for the first time when I was in middle school, but it's been a long time, and so here we are. And if you are not familiar, Matilda is about a brilliant little girl who she loves to consume books like it is just oxygen to her, especially when she discovers the absolute wonders of the public library. She comes from a very uncaring home. Her parents in particular they care about money and conning and cheating their way to attaining that stuff. Matilda, she just really wants to learn things and flex that big brain of hers, and she finds a person to connect with when she is in school, and that is in particular with her primary school teacher, her first teacher, named Miss Honey. There are also magical elements in this book, but they don't come until much later in the book than I remembered. This book is also much darker than I remember because content warning for child abuse on verbal, mental, emotional, and a physical level. Okay, so the thing is, I absolutely adore the 90s Matilda movie adaptation of this book. It's very faithful to the book. And while the movie, it didn't shy away from the darker elements, I think there are two aspects to the movie that I guess softened it or lessened it or something like that. And one of them was, I think it's because of the movie's kind of whimsical nature about it. And two, the movie, it did not show nearly as many instances of like the verbal and the physical abuse that this book does. Yeah, it made me feel a little bit uncomfy. I can't help but compare the book to the movie, and dare I say it, I think the movie did it better. What? The movie, I just felt like it did a better job of weaving together some of the various stories in general. For example, in the book, we don't find out until the very end what kind of trouble Matilda's father, Mr. Wormwood, is in. In the movie, they weave it in sooner than the very end. I also really liked how in the movie, it felt like it took longer to show and explore Matilda's powers as they developed and as they got stronger. I also really liked in the movie that they developed a little deeper into Matilda's friendship with a girl named Lavender. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed the book. I like Matilda's character, who, despite being very intelligent, she's incredibly humble about it. Plus, I think a part of it, I think as Miss Honey points out, Matilda is just not fully aware of how smart she is, and I think her age plays into that. She's only, I think, 5.5 years old through the majority of the book. As well, Matilda and Miss Honey, they both, what I appreciated and liked was they both have difficult pasts. Well, for Matilda, it's like her past and present. Difficult upbringing, there we go. In spite of that, they are still they are gentle souls. That's what I was trying to say. Liked that. I also think that the book, it does a really good job of just letting y'all know it's cool if you want to read. Be free. Grow. Learn things. You're fine. So anyways, okay, let's wrap this up. This book, it is a recommendation from me, and I was kind of waffling on the star rating, but I would say about a 3.7 stars. That's still pretty solid for moi. Okay, that is everything that I read. And what was your favorite book that you read in August? Okay, that is it. Thank you all so much for watching. Please take care, everyone, and I will see you all, hopefully when I'm less tired and delirious, in my next video. Bye!